Hi everyone, this is an ATL skill lesson, and by the end of this you should know how to use appropriate forms of writing for different purposes, and our focus is on persuasive writing. These will be your guided notes, and you should have this in front of you. Part 1, Approaches to Learning, Skill. Just as a reminder, an ATL skill is a skill that we want to master. You can use this skill across different subject areas. And I want you to fill that in again. Your ATL skill focus is use appropriate forms of writing for different purposes and audiences. And in this blank, you're going to write the word persuasive, which is right here. The definition for persuasive is being good at convincing someone to do something, believe something, or to change someone's mind about something. Remember, you're going to be filling in anywhere it says response. Why is it important to know how to use appropriate forms of writing for different purposes? You're going to highlight which reason seems the most important to you. Here are 3 reasons. First, to communicate more effectively in different circumstances, to expand your creativity and imagination, and to stand out and impress an audience, teachers, employers, TED Talk, City Council, etc. So highlight which one of these you think is most important. Next, why is being able to write persuasively important? And now you're going to highlight which of these 3 reasons you think matters the most. First, to form your ideas and arguments more clearly and effectively, such as essays, college applications, resumes, parents, etc. Next, to help others pay attention to crucial information that might improve health, safety, and/or well-being. Or third, to detect persuasive techniques in other writing that may be deceptive. So go ahead and highlight which one of these you think matters the most. Now we'll go to part 2, which is how to write persuasively. Have you ever been talked into something but you have no idea why you changed your mind? Chances are rhetorical tools were at work. Persuasive, which is also known as rhetorical, language informs, persuades, and/or motivates audiences by appealing to emotions, as well as shared values or logic. You'll find examples of rhetoric in literature, politics, and advertising, all designed to form or change an audience's opinion. 3 types of rhetorical appeals are as follows. The first one is ethos. It means to appeal to ethics, E-T-H-I-C-S. Ethos is a means of convincing an audience using the authority or credibility of the persuader, whether it is a notable or experienced figure in the field or a popular celebrity. Ethos also includes doing the ethically right thing, that is, what society would feel was acceptable or good behavior. Let's look at these 2 examples down here. The first one says, as a doctor, I am qualified to tell you that this course of treatment will likely generate the best results. This term here, as a doctor, is giving the audience the idea that this person is credible to explain the course of treatment. The second example, everyone should care about homeless animals, so always adopt and never buy from a breeder. This one is also an ethos example, but it's explaining just to do the right thing. Like our society, we feel everyone should care about homeless animals, so it's appealing to your emotions in that way. The next way is called pathos, which means to appeal to emotions. So you'll write the word emotions right here. Pathos is a way of convincing an audience of an argument to create an emotional response to an impassioned plea or a convincing story. An example would be, if If we don't move soon, we're all going to die. Can't you see how dangerous it would be to stay? That is a very emotional response. Number 3 is logos, which means an appeal to logic. Logos is a way of persuading an audience with reason, using facts, figures, and rationale. When you're talking about logic, you typically use 2 different types to prove your point. Let's take a look at both. The first type of reasoning is deductive reasoning, where you reach a logical conclusion from a few statements, such as if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. The next one is called inductive reasoning, where you make generalized logical conclusions based on what you know or observe to be true. For example, drawing a conclusion that hands-on learning is helpful after observing an important lesson. So an example of logos would be, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we have not only the fingerprints, the lack of an alibi, a clear motive, and an express desire to commit the robbery, but we also have video of the suspect breaking in. The case could not be more open and shut. This is very logical because you have all sorts of evidence to support the idea that the case is open and shut. Writing persuasively by appealing to the emotions through ethos, pathos, and logos can take many forms. Look at the persuasive language in the chart below and consider how and when to appropriately use it in your own writing. I want you to highlight at least one of these strategies that you feel may effectively strengthen your persuasiveness. The first one is back up every opinion you give with evidence. This is something you typically do in essays to support your thesis, but it can be done in a variety of writing and speaking tasks, such as in commercials or speeches. Another one is to spin unpleasant information to make it more appealing. Here's an example. Isn't this storm wonderful? It makes you want to cuddle up in front of a cozy fireplace with hot chocolate. An additional strategy is to use generalizations, which are extreme statements. Everyone knows that we all agree that obviously, surely, of course, clearly. These are all words you can add to make you sound more persuasive. Next one would be address opposing arguments with counter arguments. So here would be an example. We're going to do a lesson on this later in the quarter. Despite the opposition's belief that smoking should be allowed in public places, the evidence clearly shows that the risk of secondhand smoke to people with health issues such as asthma. So you're bringing up what the opposition might say, but then you're countering it. A few more strategies are to use flattery, meaning you're going to compliment the reader. Here's some examples. Intelligent people like you agree, or with your keen sense of style, you'll see that. And use rhetorical questions, such as, don't you want the best? Or wouldn't you rather? Don't you agree that? These are all called rhetorical questions. You don't necessarily expect them to respond to you in your writing, but you're getting them to question it in their minds. You can also over-exaggerate, which a lot of commercials do. This is the most spectacular view in the world. Or you can just appeal to the emotions, very pathos. Won't somebody please think of the children? So I want you to highlight at least one of these that you think might work in your essay. Another way to make your writing more persuasive is to use what we're going to call words with power, or power words. So I want you to read through, I will not read through all of these, but I want you to read through and highlight at least one of these that you feel may effectively strengthen your persuasiveness when you're writing your essay. And hopefully you might find more than one that will work for you. Again, there are definitely more words than this that you can use. This is just to get you started. Let's go to part 3, where you're going to practice identifying and writing persuasively. The first step is to identify, and the directions are to read the sentence pairs below, highlight the sentence that is more persuasive, and then underline the words and phrases that make the sentence more persuasive. So I'm going to look at this first. I'm going to compare these two. On the left, it says many people feel that students should wear uniforms. On the right, it says it's essential that students wear uniforms because it can improve their self-confidence tremendously. So between these, you're going to highlight which one that you think is more persuasive. And I'm going to highlight this one because, and I'm going to underline what I thought it was. I think this power word essential is important, and it's backing it up with details, with facts, hopefully, and the word tremendously. That's all some persuasive language that's making me feel overall, compared to this one, this sentence, this one is the more persuasive one. So I want you to just look at each of these pairings. You'll highlight the one you think is more persuasive, and then you'll underline the words or word phrases that make you feel that it's more persuasive. In this section, you're going to rewrite the sentences using persuasive language from part 2 above. Here's an example. Here's the first sentence. I think the menu at the restaurant needs to be changed. And then with a rewrite, we're going to look up here in part 2. I'm going to look at these strategies here, and I'm also going to look at the words with power and see how I can rewrite it more effectively. And so this one is, we can all agree that the menu at that restaurant is atrocious. So this is a much stronger sentence. So you've got 3 sentences, and you need to rewrite them to make them more persuasive. Okay, part 4 is reflection. You've seen this before. You're going to think about your skill focus and rate yourself on your current level of it by highlighting 1 through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then here you'll say, when was a time you used this skill in the past, and or when might you use this skill in the future? And that doesn't just mean on this particular assignment, but looking past the assignment. And you'll respond there, and then there's a video that you can watch. Let your teacher know if you have any questions.